So yeah, moving over to other characters.
Yeah, let's talk about Julia. I think my favorite portion of that book was when Julia fell over and slipped a note to
Winston, saying I love you. That is actually where Winston's problem started. He didn't know. Because actually in the book for 7 years, we're going to get to the other character that has been watching Brian. Sorry, not.
Okay. There you go.
That has been watching Winston for 7 good years, and they couldn't find anything to pin him, because you have to remember in Winston's apartment there's a telly screen that's watching everything he does.
Yeah.
But it's like whenever Winston comes in and he's done maybe with whatever activities he has to do on the telly screen, he would now go to a corner where the telly screen cannot see
capture.
And journal in that book. But it's difficult to say because you can't just come and arrest somebody. You don't know what he has written, where it is. So it was very difficult to pinpoint
what
Julia
was
essential to pinpointing what's his name, Winston's fault. She was very
his
essential.
wars began when Julia came into his life. It became easier.
One man is watching this and say, can you see? Women and their problems. Can you see? Please. It was just a simple note. He could have gone home and turned the notes.
And Julia's intention was never to harm.
Never. In fact, it was even caused problems for her. With his ideas, with his lofty ideas.
Yes, because Julia also hated the ruling party,
but not to
it was not ideological.
Yeah, she had not even put it together.
Yeah, she doesn't really care. But
for her, I think she hated it more because she wanted like freedom to do what she wanted, for pleasure mostly, to live her youthful years.
Because
it felt like
the book noted that Julia loved sex, for example.
Okay.
And I did know that. The ruling party forbids you from having sex for pleasure. Sex should be for procreation. So Julia wanted freedom to do what she wanted to do. Live life, be free, probably party, be friends with anybody.
Yeah.
But it was forbidden by the ruling party. So by the time she went observing Winston, she fell in love, and then one day she slipped over intentionally. What does it swoon? No, but you can't call that swooning.
Swoon is more related to books, Regency novels. I swooned. Have you seen the act of the swoon? She slipped, she almost fell.
But that was intentional.
Yeah.
And then she slipped him that note. Yeah, that says I love you.
Because before then, he had actually noticed that she was looking at him.
Yeah.
And he was even worried because I think he thought she was a spy. Yeah. Because literally anybody
could
in Oceania could be a spy.
I wouldn't know.
So somebody can be looking at you and thinking, such a fine young man or fine young lady. And you're thinking, they want to arrest me. So he actually previously thought she was a spy. Mm-hmm. Only for him to get that news, and then everything started changing. He started thinking about things in a different way, which will actually end up bringing us to O'Brien. Yeah. Another very important character in the book.
So O'Brien was actually part of the ruling party, the upper chamber. Upper chamber, people that were in charge.
And people didn't know he was really part of them. Because he kind of, sort of made himself look like he was just working in the Ministry of Truth. Although he was his boss, but he didn't really feel like as if he was he had a maybe close contact to the ruling party as much as he did.
And the way he was acting, Winston thought that O'Brien was part of the Brotherhood.
Yes.
Remember we mentioned that Brotherhood was like the opposition.
Revolutionary party.
Yeah, which may not have existed anyway, but we're not sure.
It was just something sold to people to know, okay, who and who might want to be part of a revolution. Mm-hmm. So when you sell that idea to people, want to come and look for the revolution, and then because you are the revolution, you're just lying that there's actually an existing revolution, you not catch them like, you thought there was.
That's actually very smart. So.
Very smart, because if you can play the two roles, you can get to now know the people that actually would want to rebel. It's the best way to know who the potential rebellious people could be in your society. If you just paint a picture to say, okay, there's a Goldstein. I think his name was Emmanuel Goldstein, and it's like, but he doesn't exist. But we are still the ones fronting to be him. So when those people come, I'm like, actually, I'm interested in the Brotherhood. They're like, oh, you're interested, really? But you know what your own intentions are. It's okay. This person is in the Brotherhood. That's how you start catching all the rebels in your society. Catch all of them. At the end of the day, before it can get to be such a huge thing, you've controlled it thoroughly.
So O'Brien has been monitoring Winston for 7 years. I imagine that maybe because he used to move to the corner of his house to do something.
Yes.
And like we know, journaling.
Yeah.
They didn't know exactly what he was doing, but they know he was doing something. Because they might have thought
he would have just bought the diary for just diary. I feel like the diary was probably when he started monitoring him.
Yeah.
When he bought that diary, Mr.
Yeah.
The other character I'm gonna get, because no one's call of them would have told O'Brien that okay, someone just got a diary, and then they'll start keeping eyes on him. But he was living such a simple life, from the ministry to the house, and because he was not, maybe assuming he was missing some activities, it might have become more obvious. But he wasn't missing any activity.
Yeah.
He was always just do what the telly screen says. When he's done, he'll not go to the corner of his house and write. That was literally just, and even his writing at first, he was even scared to even really put out
Express
his thoughts
himself
properly.
Yeah.
He wasn't even doing it with as much.
He was holding back.
He was holding back
because over the years he's been kind of conditioned
to
act in a particular way, to not think. So now that he has started thinking and journaling, it was not so easy at first. But yeah, eventually he thought that O'Brien was a member of the Brotherhood. He approached him, and O'Brien actually claimed to be a member of the Brotherhood, and that was how O'Brien set him up to get a copy of the book written by that Emmanuel Ghostin.
And I feel like that's when he should have known there was something wrong. Because in that book, the way the book ended, he ended like as if it was incomplete.
Yeah.
They started writing the gold stand revolutionary something consists, and it just stopped there. And I was thinking, you should have known there that something was wrong. That this book is not a good book.
And anyway, all they had to do was to catch him with the book.
Yeah. And that was not even the major thing. I think they caught him with Julia eventually.
Yeah, caught him with Julia. So they were both arrested and taken to the Ministry of Joy. But
Ministry of not joy, love.
Love, right?
Yeah,
okay,
the other ministry is actually Ministry of Peace.
Peace, okay.
Peace dealing with war.
Ministry of Love. Okay, so imagine, so how did they know that Winston was journaling? It was through Mr. Charrington, Sharrington. What should we call him now? Charrington.
Cherry boy. So Mr. Charrington was actually the final piece of the puzzle, which is the final very important character. He's the owner of sort of like a
second-hand shop.
Yeah, that just he's like a collector. He just keeps like random things. He will keep artifacts, keep books. Just that shop, you just go to buy anything. Everything is there.
And to think that Mr. Charrington was in the Pro district.
Yes.
So which means the party also planted people.
Yes, he planted people in the Pro.
Just that there were no telescreens watching them and all that, but there were people
watching
among them who are members of the thought police or maybe junior spies and all that.
It was the easiest way, because if you assuming like he went to a house that belonged to a member of like a ministry worker, he wouldn't be comfortable there. He wouldn't believe that he could do anything there at ease or with peace. You understand? But he knew that with the pros, he felt like with the pros were just like distracted by the many distractions of the world. So there's no way Charrington had like his demeanor of someone that was so you could not even suspect him. First of all, he had a very different accent. He was just a businessman.
So Mr. Charrington was a member of the thought police. It was from him that Winston bought that diary or journal, and as soon as he bought that, he reported him to the ruling party, of course.
Probably to O'Brien.
Yeah, that's probably when they took greater interest in him to find out what's going on, because they don't want to take chances, of anything. And I mean, it's disheartening to know that very old man, who was just unsuspecting, unassuming, was also a member of the thought police. And it shows how anybody, anywhere in Oceania could be a spy for Big Brother or for the ruling party. And, well, just be careful, though, because you don't know. I don't know if you yourself, are you spying for the government? Better tell me now, so I know what I'm saying.
Are we cutting this flat out?
No, we're not cutting that out.
Okay, so yeah, that's about O'Brien. So other little things that happened that we noticed in the book is how George Orwell foreshadows a lot.
Yeah.
You literally read something and you don't know that it's pointing to something that would happen in the future.
In the future, yeah.
He foreshadows. He's a very symbolic kind of man. He foreshadowed with the rats in the room. When there was the time they were in the room, him and what's her name,
Julia.
and Julia, in the room they had rented from Mr. Charrington. And then there was a rat that just came into the room, and so basically her fear was not the rat, because she was just like, what's there? Just there. And then he had like such a very great fear.
More like
because he was like
panicking.
He literally anxiety, like, because I think he reminded him of something in the past
from his childhood.
So he was very scared, and that's when they knew that the rat
was his fear.
And it's going to mean something. We don't want to I don't think we tell them about that part.
We're supposed to mention it now that we mentioned O'Brien, because by the time O'Brien set Winston up, and they arrested him and Julia, he was taken to the Ministry of Love.
There's a particular room, the room 101. It's a very significant room in this book. It's a room where your fears come alive.
Yeah.
That's all we're going to say about
because
that
the Ministry of Love, anyway, is for torturing and the re-education. So in the Ministry of Love, there is room 101. So when Julia and Winston were arrested and taken to the Ministry of Love, eventually they were also taken to the room 101.
At separate times. They didn't even know what was going on with each other. But I actually commend Winston. He was very, very strong.
Yeah, he was.
Like, he was very strong. Nothing was going to... In fact, they thought they had broken him. Till one time, he just shouted, Julia! And then they were like... This guy, you've not learnt your lesson. Like, at that point, Richard thought they had broken him until he shouted Julia. And they're like, okay, now we have to take him to room 101. They had to take him to room 101. So when his fears came alive, then he realized, then he now said, I think he said something that literally just said he didn't want Julia anymore,
simply
blah, blah, blah.
Denounced
Julia.
And that's it.
And then that was it. So
and that's all they wanted.
They knew that he had loved Big Brother.
So for him to denounce Julia, the person he loves, means no longer believes in love at this moment.
Yeah, and he was not going to be thinking anymore
about love.
It was really an interesting pointer to how people can use fear to manipulate people. Like, they tried everything. Because O'Brien, they beat him, they put like a pain machine, they hallucinated him. Nothing was working until they used his biggest fear to get to him.
Which was rats. I remember how they were dropping that cage of rats on him,
his head.
And he couldn't withstand the sight of it even, so he had to denounce.
Even thoughts. I still wonder what Julia's fear might have been.
It doesn't mention. Was it mentioned?
It was never mentioned.
No,
it's just one of those things you need the readers to imagine.
Yeah, but then Julia and Winston crossed paths again after their experiences in the Ministry of Love. But this time the spark has died, the love has died.
You can't even try it again. He actually, on the positive side, he got promoted. Winston got promoted, so he got promoted. But then at this point, he literally would never think in his life again. He's like, they tell me 2 plus. He literally was on the thing 2 plus 2 is equals to 5. So he has accepted it. He's not thinking about anything. Anything he's being told is what he will do.
So having said that, let's move on quickly discuss the themes of this book, because there were many themes.
Many of them are quite related to one another.
Actually, they're quite related. And maybe let's talk about the dangers of totalitarianism. Imagine government being in charge of everything, being in charge of the thoughts you are thinking. Because you know how you can just go out for the day and be like, when you are done, you go back to your house and be finally I'm in my safe space, I'm at home. I can now rest, I can even sleep naked, do anything. But in Oceania, the government was in charge. You couldn't even be comfortable in your own house. There was a screen. Even your children could be spies watching you.
The scariest thing was how they hid the history.
Yeah.
Like how they recycled past, present, future. You could literally go insane. At some point, what's his name? Winston felt like he was going insane. Because he was like, I'm sure I saw a document that had 22nd March. What do you mean that thing happened 29th March? So you could literally go insane from having things recycled so much that you don't know the past, you don't know the present, you don't know the future.
There is no consistency with the ruling party. Whatever they want is what they will dish out. If they say that it happened on 30th today, they can come out and say no, it was on 31st, and that's what I'm supposed to believe. No questions asked, and it's quite dangerous for anybody, for any society. I mean, at all costs, nobody should accept that kind of government or that kind of rule anywhere. So that brings us to psychological manipulation, which is related to what we talked about earlier. How they used media, for example, to manipulate what you think. Talk about the newspeak. There were words. Which we'll give you a rundown very soon towards the end.
Probably going to explain the newspeak a little.
Because newspeak is like the language that they developed to help you to make sure that they limit what you think.
Yeah.
How
reduce your expression, reduce your emotions. You can't, because when you have a limited range of words, you can't really say much. You can't really express much. So they were just trying to do that to just cut off even things that maybe would find you of being ideological for like maybe old times or whatever. They would cut it off. So you had very limited vocabulary. So with limited vocabulary, it's like back in the day of the Stone Age, or you know that Flintstones where they had literally no form of expression. It sounded like jargons. So that's what they're literally trying to do with the people, like limit everything.
And there was that bold inscription everywhere: Big Brother is watching you. And actually he's watching you, watching every move you're making. And bearing that in mind, they can't even be free. So that manipulation was there in every way possible. Even apart from that mind control, there was also physical control. Yeah. Imagine being taken to the Ministry of Love, where you're not loved actually. where you are tortured, and then we are simply taken through all manner of torture and maiming and beating, whatever you can think of. That's what happens at the
You
Ministry
literally
of Love.
lose your humanity.
Yeah.
You lose your
Yeah.
humanity. You end up, and I think when they were always saying that people became on persons as not existing anymore, that's another very, very scary thing.
Yeah.
How they can remove somebody from the history of like their world. If they want you to not exist anymore, they'll just
You simply
like
stop
that.
existing. And no
There'll be
one
no
will question
history
them.
books to show your
to show-
name. Nobody has any as nobody can recall you. You're an on-person. That was the term then.
Yeah.
You become an on-person.
Person.
A lot of things were happening in Oceania.
And there's
Very
also
scary
the
things.
theme of loyalty.
Yes.
You're supposed to be loyal to Big Brother no matter what, no matter what they think. Because there was
You
no
don't
truth.
think so? If you don't think, you can't even have questions.
There was nothing like good, better, no, nothing like good, better, best, or
Was good, plus good,
plus
double
good,
plus
double
good. In newspeak.
We're gonna give you the meaning of those words eventually towards the end, if we can. Hopefully, most of them or some of them, some of those words in the newspeak. So you're supposed to be loyal to Big Brother and to the ruling party at all times, at all costs. Even as a child, you could be recruited into the junior spy, and you can spy on your fellow children, your parents, anybody. So your loyalty lies with Big Brother and the ruling party, not with your wife,
Your children,
your children.
your husband,
No.
I think that's one of the things that really triggered things for Winston, because it got to a time when he was recalling memories from his mother and sister, and he was like, where are they? Where is everybody? Like, why would they take such important memories from me? It really, really triggered him a lot.
Yeah. Well, and of course there is a revolution and resistance. Even if we don't really know.
The revolution wasn't true.
Well, there was a revolution in the mind,
of
Winston. And I'm sure there may be other characters, other people, Shania anyway.
That had revolution. Because
in
there were
their
people in that
minds.
jail. Because when he came, other people came into the jail too with him.
So it was. I think it was a point at how people can try to resist the government, starting from their mind, how they think. I think, wow. Thinking about it now, the government was really smart.
Yeah, but
Everything starts
from a thought.
Yeah, so they controlled the thoughts that people thought. So just make sure that you remained where you are. I mean, that's quite scary.
The dangerous government.
There was no sense of identity, no sense of individualness or individuality for anybody. Well, those are basically the themes. Did I miss any?
I don't think so.
Yeah, well.
It's about fear, hatred, oppression, classism to an extent.
Yeah, independence and identity, revolution, and all that. Well, and that's just it. So that's about this book,
classic,
1984 by George Orwell. So before we go, we're going to give you a quick rundown of some words from the Newspeak and their meanings quickly. That might help you when you read the book. So here are a quick rundown of some of the words in the Newspeak, the language developed by the ruling party to control the thoughts and the communication of the people. We have thought crime, which means thinking thoughts outside the party's ideology. That's thought crime. It's a crime to think outside of what they want you to think. There's also face crime. If your facial expressions kind of negates what they want it to be, you're supposed to be smiling and happy with Big Brother and the party. So if somehow your facial expression gives away the fact that someone had an impure or impure thought, you can be arrested. So there's also the think poll, that's the thought police. People that actually monitor people to know what they're thinking at any point. We mentioned Mr. Charrington. He was one of the members of the thought police who actually reported Winston. And of course, there is black-white, a conceptual word to show acceptance that two opposite things are actually the same thing. You can imagine black-white. Then there is on-person, someone who has been vaporized, like she mentioned earlier, somehow they stop existing from nowhere. That's on-person. There's joy camp. Joy camp without any joy. Joy camp is like a forced labor camp. That's what joy camp means. Then there is good sex. Good sex means sex purely for procreation that involves no physical pleasure, particularly for women. The only type of sex permitted in Oceania was sex for procreation, not for pleasure. And there is sex crime. Sex crime, any sexual interaction that does not fit with, the description of good sex. That's what sex crime is. And of course, Ministry of Love, mean love, which is short for Ministry of Love. There is mini packs, which is short for Ministry of Peace. There is mini plenty, which is short for Ministry of Plenty. Even while people were in lack and penury and abject poverty, they still had the Ministry of Plenty. And of course, there is Militru, which means the Ministry of Truth, even though their duty was to kind of propagate or to kind of disseminate propaganda for the ruling party. So those are some of the words you find in 1984 that make up the new speak.
All right, it has been an amazing time on today's episode of the Bookish Clan, talking with
Emmanuel,
of course, about 1984, written by George Orwell. I'm sure you've had an amazing review by us, and I'm hoping that somehow you go back and read the book. It's a very long read, but it's so interesting. You're going to be like,
it's worth it. It's
worth
the
it has so many moments like, hey,
what's going on here?
What's going on? But it's a really, especially if you love political books with political themes, this is definitely in your alley. It's definitely up in your alley. So just check out 1984 by George Orwell. It also has an amazing book, Animal Farm, by the same author, George Orwell. It's really amazing. Any book you're looking for a political theme, check out this author. He's very loaded on it, and he has a way of writing to make it very engaging and make it very interesting. And if you're looking to maybe try out books that have political themes, if you're just trying out for the first time, you've not really had any book, read any book with political themes, I think 1984 is a good start.
Yeah.
Because you're exposed to so many new words, so many terms relating to politics. So yeah, that's all for us today on Bookish Clan. But of course, we won't tell you what we're going to be reading next because we have to read it together.
Yeah.
Coming your way next time will be one by Lola Shoneyin called The Secret Lives of Baba Shegi's Wives. The Secret Lives of Baba Shegi's Wives is very hilarious. And at the same time, just a little bit tragic.
Yeah.
Maybe towards the end. But mostly
we'll find out
hilarious.
Next week.
Mostly hilarious. It's a very quick one. It's quick mostly because it's very interesting and very funny. So you're just flipping the page to see what happens next. So definitely check out Secret Lives of Baba Shegi's Wife by Lola Shoneyin. And we're going to talk about that when we're coming your way again to your wonderful screen next week. So don't miss out, because if you miss out, you know what you're doing. I don't know what you're doing, but definitely you're not doing something right.
It will be a thought crime.
It will be a thought crime. We'll arrest you. Thank you. So bye. See you next week.
Bye, everyone. See you next week.